Hi, everyone. It's Friday. We welcome you to the 700 Club. We've got some great stories coming up. But starting, President Trump is doubling down after two hard blows hit the economy this week that have the Democrats smelling blood. Is the Fed at fault? Well, Jennifer Wishon has the story.
As talk of recession fills the hot air here in Washington, the Trump administration is pushing back with its own message of confidence. Speaking to reporters outside the White House, the president's chief economic advisor offering assurances the tea leaves the administration is reading predict a strong future economy.
Folks are working, they're spending, and they're saving, which is terrific. And there's no end, to me, there's no end in sight.
If anyone is at fault, the president says it's the Fed for not lowering interest rates.
I think I could be helped out by the Fed, but the Fed doesn't like helping me too much.
The administration is floating solutions, including more tax cuts.
We have for a while been looking at something I call Tax Cuts 2.0, which will be a compilation of our best thinking on additional tax relief incentives for the middle class, for blue-collar workers, small businesses, and so forth.
The administration is in repair mode after taking two blows this week. First, the Congressional Budget Office predicted the federal deficit will exceed $1 trillion by 2020.
Both parties want to play Santa Claus. They spend too much money. The most important thing, though, to get the deficit down is to keep the economy booming. And, you know, we've had 2 solid years of economic growth.
Then the Bureau of Labor Statistics revised its numbers to reveal the economy created 500,000 fewer jobs than originally reported. Still, Moore says the real problem isn't jobs, rather too few workers.
You know, the 7.5 million surplus jobs when there's 6 million unemployed means we have 1.5 million more jobs than even people looking for jobs.
Still, the economic news has Democrats seeking the nomination for president smelling blood. On the stump, frontrunner Joe Biden blamed signs of a slowing economy on the president's trade war with China. Democrats know a weak economy could give them a major edge in 2020. This, as a new AP poll shows strong disapproval of the president's performance across the board. But the one area people approve of most is his handling of the economy. The president is off to France for the G7 summit, and where the economy is concerned, he'll encourage his allies to be more like the U.S.
If our friends would adopt some of the pro-growth policies that we have adopted, their growth would improve markedly.
And at the president's urging, G7 leaders will meet tomorrow morning to discuss the economy and trade. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, with these pro-growth policies, we'll see whether the economy can hold its own up into the election. Well, in other news, China's firing another shot in its trade war with America. John Jessup has more from our bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Sherry. Beijing is announcing today it will raise tariffs on $75 billion of American products. It did not specify which goods will be affected, but did say the tariffs will begin September 1st and December 15th. The move is seen as retaliation for President Trump's plan to raise tariffs on more Chinese goods on September 1st. Well, with tensions still high in the Persian Gulf, Iran is conducting massive military exercises, but it's not just war games. Some of the fighting is real as Iran's forces target what they call terrorist groups on their borders. It's also unveiling a new long-range defense missile system. Iran's president says the system is able to recognize up to 100 targets at a time and confront them with 6 different weapons. It's touted as an Iranian version of Russia's S-300 missile system. The U.S. reimposed sanctions on Iran after pulling out of the nuclear deal last year. President Trump argues it did not do enough to limit Iran's ballistic missile program. Iraq has issued a warning of a strong response if Israel attacks targets on its soil. This just hours after the U.S. confirmed Israel bombed an Iranian weapons depot in the country last month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been hinting Israel carried out that strike that killed 2 Iranian military commanders. Iraq's prime minister said if Israel continues to hit targets in Iraq, the country, quote, will transform into a battle arena that drags in multiple countries, including Iran. Well, turning back home and to the 2020 election, Democratic candidates are working their ground game in Iowa. This as frontrunner Joe Biden tries to lock in his lead with another TV campaign ad. Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson has more on that strategy.
No one is more qualified to beat Donald Trump. That's the message in Joe Biden's six-figure TV and digital ad buy in Iowa, unveiled this week ahead of his sixth visit to the Hawkeye state.
We have to beat Donald Trump.
A message the Democratic frontrunner's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, is also pitching on the campaign trail.
You have to look at who is going to win.
As the Democrat field begins to shrink and stronger candidates emerge, Dr. Biden is encouraging voters to put issues aside and focus on the big picture.
Your candidate might be better on, I don't know, health care than Joe is. But you've got to look at who's going to win this election.
The former vice president saying this about his wife's comments.
None of our issues will matter if Donald Trump wins. That was the point she was making.
But as CBN News learned in a recent trip to Iowa, not all Democrat voters are confident in Biden's electability.
If it's Joe Biden, that's going to be a big mistake if we nominated Joe.
Biden has done us great, his whole history with us, for the Democratic Party, but I feel like his time is done and we need a little bit more new blood to get in there to fight.
Over a year out from Election Day, some caution Biden might be putting too much faith in the polls as other candidates gain more national name recognition and support for their policies and ideas. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thank you, Abigail. A federal appeals court in Colorado ruled that states' presidential electors do not have to back the candidate who wins the state's popular vote. The case addresses a decision of then Secretary of State Wayne Williams ordering the electors to back Hillary Clinton back in 2016. The appeals court ruled the Constitution provides, quote, presidential electors the right to cast a vote for president and vice president with discretion, and the state does not possess countervailing authority to remove an elector and to cancel his vote in response to the exercise of that constitutional right. The decision is likely headed to the Supreme Court. Well, is prophecy coming true in the Holy Land? Some say yes, as more than 200 new immigrants from across the globe arrived recently in Jerusalem. As Chris Mitchell reports, they believe it's a fulfillment of God's promise to gather his people from the four corners of the world.
After a 10-hour flight, with some waiting and planning the trip for years, these Olim, or new immigrants, set foot on the Promised Land.
The arrivals come from 22 states, 2 Canadian provinces, and include 103 children, 3 sets of twins, and a 28-day-old baby.
This is a great situation for the state of Israel, that 240 Jews from North America arrive in Israel here, and we are very proud to have them as students, as soldiers, as partners in the state of Israel.
Nefesh B'Nefesh organized this arrival, a milestone for the organization.
60,000 Olim, our 60th charter flight. It's as glorious as the first flight. Seeing people fulfill their dreams, coming home, it's remarkable.
The first time, the first person is just as important and just as exciting as the 60,000th person right now.
This brother and sister reunited after 2 years.
I don't know, I'm overjoyed. Like, it's so weird. I've been here like alone and now I have my brother. It's amazing.
And families made the journey.
It's just one of the most amazing feelings in the world to be able to come to our homeland, to be part of the state of Israel, the Jewish homeland that we've always dreamed of being a part of.
Is this a dream come true?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We are living the dream.
David is the nephew of Yechiel Eckstein, who brought thousands of Jews to the land of Israel and passed away recently. Beryl is Yechiel's brother.
I miss my brother being here, but he's here. And I know that he would have been first one to greet David. He loved him so much.
For the Ecksteins and many other families making Aliyah, it's about the generations.
We're so proud of them to make this decision at this stage in their life, to come back home where my father was born, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and now this generation's coming home.
It's also about the Bible coming to life.
It's about the ingathering of the exiles, bringing the Jewish people home. But it's not even for me, it's not even because of the fulfillment of prophecies that I'm so happy. It's because my family is coming home. And we're all together finally. And when we're all together in our land, that brings the most light to the whole world.
For these new arrivals, their Israel adventure is just beginning. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, David Ben Gurion Airport, Tel Aviv.
A lot of happy and excited faces there in Chris's piece. Terry?
Thanks, John. Boy, there really are. Making ALIYAH, boy, that's quite a commitment. You know, a new language, a new culture, new everything, and yet a commitment that is bone deep in the hearts of so many Jewish people. And so we wish them well as they settle into their new country.